Good morning, everyone. Okay, let's get started. So today we're looking at comparing information, ideas, facts and opinions. So it is different than the title on your Zoom link because we had already done that session last week. So our aims and outcomes for today. By the end of this session, learners must examine text for similarities, for differences, and identify facts, opinions, and ideas. You should understand the different ways this is conveyed in different texts, and you could understand an array of diverse methods of conveyance. Summarising information from different texts. So when you look at your level 2 reading papers, it's going to have one of these types of question, but there are various ways they work. So the wording of the question is important. So you might be asked to say how texts are similar or how they differ. You might be asked to compare the texts in order to answer a specific question. So using evidence in the different texts in order to decide on an answer to the question. And this type of question is often worded as compare and contrast. So you're comparing, finding similarities, and you're contrasting, finding the differences between the documents. So you might be comparing information, ideas, or opinions. And you might be required to discuss how that information is conveyed. So in your answer, you should give relevant and precise ideas from the text. And you should provide direct examples from the texts. But don't use your own knowledge or unsubstantiated answers. So if it is a text about a subject you know a lot about personally, that's not what the examiner is looking for. They are looking for how you've used the information in the documents of the test. So don't use your own knowledge to answer it, use the information in the texts. So we've got some examples here of what the questions will look like, and they'll be similar to these. Explain how all 3 documents have different ideas about a topic or issue. So you're contrasting how the ideas are different for that question. Explain how all 3 documents have similar ideas about an issue or topic. So there you are saying what is the same or similar. Using the information in the 3 source documents, explain whether you think X is a good idea or not. So you're going to need to use evidence, short quotes, and paraphrasing from the documents to back up whether you think that is whatever the question's asked is a good idea or not. Compare and contrast. So how are they the same? How are they different? Compare and contrast the 3 source documents. Which is most likely to make you want to support X and Y? So the Y, you need evidence. So you're taking information from one of the texts to support your idea of why you want to support whatever's in the question. Compare views, ideas and information in document A with the views, information and ideas in document B, and how these views are conveyed, so how those views are put across. So in the paper, these types of questions are worth 3 or 4 marks. And for top marks, the examiner wants to see precise ideas from all the texts with clear examples. Okay, so we'll look a little later at some example answers. So summarising, how do we tackle summarising? So a good approach to these questions is to do the following. Make it clear that you understand the question. Explain the information from the document in your own words, so paraphrasing. Refer directly to each text using short quotes from each. So a short quote, at the most a sentence, you could use part of a sentence. The examiner doesn't want to see in your answer big chunks of copied text as a quote, just short, precise quotes. So be precise, you won't get marks for a vague answer. So however much you write in your answer, if it's vague and not precise and specific, then you won't get the marks. Make it clear which text you are writing about. So refer to the name of the document, document A, document B, and so on. Distinguish between information, ideas, and opinions. So in document A, is it factual information? Is it a general idea that's held by a lot of people? Or is it that the writer's opinion, what they think personally? So again, we'll look at some more examples of that. Any questions so far? Okay. So facts, ideas, and opinions, and you should be able to distinguish between these. So a fact is an established, verifiable information. So fact is established, verifiable information, and verifiable means that we can go away and check that information. So we've got an example here. It is 185 miles from Manchester to London. So I could go to Google Maps, put Manchester to London in, and check that distance. Okay. So it's something we can go and check to find out whether it's true. Obviously, an author might write incorrect or false information and present that as fact. But you should, when it is a fact, you will be able to find out that it is true. So facts and figures that are given in a text, usually they would be true, so they would be verifiable. If it's giving percentage increases in how many people stopped smoking, for example, then that's verifiable. You can go away and check it. So an idea or an opinion, these can be very similar. And the difference when we're talking about an idea, it's often an abstract or widely held belief. So held by a lot of people or a group of people. So the example would be pollution is a problem we must all face in society. So the majority of people, I would think, would agree that pollution is a problem. So it's an idea. It's not just my personal opinion. That's an idea that a lot of people would subscribe to. A lot of people believe that. But an opinion is more personal. So I think, I believe. So I believe a tax on sugar would reduce obesity. So opinions are not a verifiable fact. So for that one, you could go and find some research and back up or discredit that claim. But generally, I believe, I think, is going to be a personal opinion. So you can attribute that directly to the writer or speaker or a smaller group. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. So, facts, ideas, and opinions. So you need to unmute yourself to contribute. So we want to match the content type to the text extract. So I'll give you a few moments to look at it first, and then I'll expect you to unmute yourself and tell me which one you think matches a fact, an idea, or an opinion. Okay, so the meanings we've got: it is held true by scientists that one day we will colonize Mars. We should give more money to foreign aid. The minister resigned on Friday. Okay, so which one of those is a fact? So we can verify that. We can go and check that it is true, that it happened. Which meaning is a fact? So you need to unmute yourself to give me an answer. Somebody?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you, thank you.
Yeah. The minister resigned on Friday is a fact.
Excellent. Oh, not sure what's happened there, just hold on.
Yeah, and
just hold on 1 minute. I'm just having a bit of an issue with my screen here. Right, I'm just going to stop sharing a minute. Just hope it's gone a bit funny on my screen. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so that one, oh, we can try again, is a fact. Good. Which one is an idea?
an idea is
So an idea is when it would be held by a group or a wide part of society.
Wide part of society. So an idea is it is held true by scientists. Yeah. That one day we will colonize Mars. Is an idea.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah. Opinion is we should give more money.
Thank you.
To foreign aid.
Well done.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Has anyone got any questions about that? Did anyone think it was those answers? Okay, so you can see there the difference between fact, idea, and opinion. Okay, so when you get a question about similarities, What is the same?
Sorry, teacher.
Yes.
Could you back it to last page? I wanted to just do screenshots a little bit, please.
You should be able to access this on the Moodle afterwards. So each session is recorded. It's fine for you to screenshot it, but just so you know, we are recording the session, and you can go back at any time and look at it. When you log into Moodle, you'll be able to see the lesson recording. So if you do ever miss anything or you can't attend a session, it's always better to attend the session when it happens, because then you can ask questions and contribute. But if you can't for whatever reason, then you can have a look later. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, look. So look at this example. Explain how these texts have similar ideas about the environment. Okay, so I want you to read through the text first of all, and then I will read it out loud. We'll read it together, and then we will look at the different parts of the text to show how they have similar, to show how this answer talks about the similar ideas. So if you read through it, I'll just give you a few moments to read through it. Okay. And then we'll think about it together. One way that these texts are similar is that they all try to encourage the reader to take care of the environment.
Yes.
A says that everyone has a duty to look at the planet. Document B says that we must do more. And document C says we can save the planet. All texts encourage the reader to recycle. Document A says the reader should always recycle where possible. Document B says recycling is easy. Document C says recycling is the least we can do. Finally, every document stresses the fact that looking after the planet must be seen as a long-term issue. So how do these texts have similar ideas about the environment? That is the question.
Over 30 minutes. After printing that. I don't care.
I'll just put everyone on mute until you're ready to answer. Okay. So the question in the assessment was, explain how these texts have similar ideas about the environment. So what have they done? What can you tell me about the answer? How have they answered that question? What have they included in their answer? So can anybody tell me anything that they notice? So anything at all that you notice? Everyone's on mute, just to cut out the background noise, so you'll need to unmute yourself to answer. So what has this person used in their answer to so what have they done to make sure the examiner knows that they understand what the similarities are? And what have they done to back up what they are saying about each document? What have they included?
They've included quotations from the text.
Excellent, good. So there are quotes from the text. Document A says that everyone has a duty to look after the planet. And then we've got document B, we must do more, and document C. So they've taken a quote that has a similar meaning from each document. But as you can see, they are short quotes. They are parts of a sentence or at the most a sentence. And that's all you'll be expected to include as a quote, just a part or at the most a whole sentence, nothing more. So short, precise quotes. Well done. Okay, let's have a look together. This one. So we've got short quotes referring directly to the documents. How has the answer started? So one way that these texts are similar is, and they have told us what they are all aiming to do, trying to encourage the reader to take care of the environment. Okay, so straight away, they are telling the examiner that they understand the question. So that's a good way to start your answer. One way that these texts are similar is, okay. So, so they are giving quotes that say a similar piece of information, but in a different way. So it's conveyed slightly differently, and that's where they've used their quotes. So we've already read through those quotes. So as well as quotes, they have paraphrased. So they've put it into their own words. All texts encourage the reader to recycle. And one of the most important things is to make sure that you are accurately referring to the texts. So if you're talking about what a document says, name the document. Document A, document B. Okay, so the examiner knows that you have taken that information directly from one of the documents. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, so conveyance is the way a message is put across. So let's have a look at some examples. What have we learned from the disaster? Firstly, that budget cuts were responsible for the increase in coastal erosion. Secondly, over 3,000 more homes in Norfolk are under threat. Finally, the Home Secretary voted against the climate change bill. And the next example, living as I do on the coast in Cromer, I can see how much the coastline has receded in only the last 10 years. And what has been done? Absolutely nothing. So in the first extract, the information is conveyed more objectively. It uses formal language. So we've got that firstly. Secondly, the coastal erosion. So it's technical, formal language. It presents facts and statistics. So remember, they are verifiable facts. Over 3,000 more homes are under threat. You could go away and check that. The Home Secretary voted against the climate change bill. Again, you could go away and check that. Is it true? It's verifiable facts. In the second example, this is a personal account. So we've got those personal pronouns, I. It's more emotive. What has been done? So it's absolutely nothing. The punctuation is adding to the emotive element of that extract. What has been done? So it's question, absolutely nothing. So it's shocking that absolutely nothing's been done. Okay, so the conveyance is the way the message is put across. Is it formal? Is it personal? Any questions about that? Okay, so that could be a difference or a similarity between documents. If we looked at these, if these were examples in your assessment, then you could talk about that. If you're asked about the differences between them, that if you're contrasting them, so if you're asked to contrast the two documents, document A uses formal language and document B is more emotive and personal. Obviously, you would add more to your answer to back that up, but that's just something that you could be asked to do, or it could be one of the explanations of how they are different. So we had there formal, in those examples, formal and personal or informal examples, and but there are many ways to convey fact, opinions and ideas, and you can see them listed here. Fact-based language, informal language, using quotes, emotive language, precise language, the layout of the text, the details given, general points, statistics, casual approach, so more speech-like usually if it's a casual approach, motivational language, so things like let's do this, we can change the world, so what, things like that. Sensitive language, personal experience, formal language and urgent language. We must do this now. Okay, any questions about any of those ways listed? Okay, so we're going to match the examples to the method of conveyance. So how does the example convey its message? Is it through formal language, sensitive language? Is it fact-based, motivational, casual, or using personal experience? So if you read through them, I'll give you a few minutes to, or a couple of minutes to do that. Read through the examples and think about which method is used. Okay. So, which example uses formal language? So you need to unmute yourself. If you're not sure about the formal language one, tell me one of the methods that you do know that you can match to an example. Just to start us off. So, anyone have a go?
It's number 1, example 1. Is it motivational?
Good.
Yeah.
Which word in that example told you it was motivational?
Let's.
Together.
Together, good. And someone else said it as well.
Yeah, I said let's.
Let's.
Let's tackle.
So let's and together. Let's do it together. Motivation. Excellent. Well done, you two. Okay. Any others?
So,
Which one uses personal experience? So that's a simple one too.
the last one.
The last one. And what word tells you it's personal?
I.
Good. So it's using personal pronoun. I. Well done. Okay. So which ones? Oh, wait a minute. Actually, this one could be one of two, but I think actually we might have put it in the wrong place. I've just looked. So this one does use personal language, but there's another one that is telling us about their experience.
As a former engineer.
Good. Okay. So that one is
Personal
experience, but this one, it's quite speech-like. It's informal. What's another way we could explain an informal approach?
Casual approach.
Good.
What?
So casual, another word for informal.
Casual.
Yeah, so when we're looking at informal or casual language, it's speech-like. I don't know the facts, I'm pretty sure. So it's not formal at all. It's more how you would say it rather than something written down. Okay. Fact-based. So
Fact-based is the equipment had been placed in the statutory 10-year period.
good. And a big clue there for us is the 10-year period. So
The 10-year period.
Good. So if anything's got something that can be measured, so a statistical amount, a percentage, or this, a 10-year period, then it's fact-based. We could go away and check that fact. It's verifiable. Okay. So formal language, which one uses formal language? We've just got this one and this one left. These two.
Formal is Italian.
Yeah, good. And so the sensitive language, it's a bit trickier. So if someone applies for the role, he or she will be required to own a vehicle. So it's sensitive, it's polite. If someone, so they're not saying if you expect to do it. If someone, he or she, they will be required. So it's polite. Another word it could be polite. Okay. Any questions about that? No? Okay, well done. So look at this example again to see how the texts are conveyed. One way these texts are similar is that they all try to encourage the reader to take care of the environment. Document A says that everyone has a duty to look after the planet. Document B says that we must do more. And document C says we can save the planet. All texts encourage the reader to recycle. Document A says the reader should always recycle where possible. Document B says recycling is easy. And document C says recycling is the least we can do. Finally, every document stresses the fact that looking after the planet must be seen as a long-term issue. Okay, so we can look here at how the texts have been conveyed. So look at the, it's got urgent language. Everyone has a duty to look after the planet. We can save the planet. So they've identified those. And there's casual language. So if you were answering that question of how are the texts similar, then we can see there that although the similarities, there are differences in the style of the language. So the conveyance, how are they getting the message across? So that's another way to answer the question, or an additional feature you can look for and talk about in your answer. Is there a similarity between the way the text convey the message? Okay. So the opposite, looking at differences rather than similarities. So questions about differences. So we've got an example here, and the question was, explain how these texts have different ideas about the environment. So this is a contrast question. How are the texts different? So I'll read it out loud, and I want you to think of if there's anything at all that you notice, and then we can look at those. One way in which the texts differ is in the extent of things they suggest the reader does. Text A says the reader must do all in their power. B says she makes small everyday changes, making a world of difference. While text C promotes energy saving measures as well as recycling. Text A and C suggest that individuals should be responsible for being eco-friendly. But text B says that the government has responsibility. Finally, they each suggest very different amounts of money that can be saved or redirected to other causes. So is there anything at all you notice in that answer? What have they used to answer that question? So what have they done straight away at the beginning? What have they shown the examiner? One way in which the texts differ is
they show that they understand the question.
good. So the way they've started their answer has shown that they understand what they are expected to do. Talk about how the texts are different. One way in which the texts differ. Good. Well done. So they have used short quotes and paraphrasing again. So we've got we've got short quotes, do all in their power, but we've also got paraphrasing. Text C promotes energy saving measures as well as recycling. Okay, so they've not used a quote for text C, they've paraphrased. So the conveyance, so there's personal, let me find the quote. Text B says she makes a small everyday changes, making a world of difference. So it's personal language in text B. And we've got more paraphrasing at the bottom. They each suggest different amounts of money that can be saved or redirected to other causes. And again, vitally important, telling the examiner which text you're referring to. naming the text you are talking about. So text A, document A, or and so on. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, so rather than just comparing and contrasting, you could be asked to compare with a specific focus. So in this, we'll look at this example answer. So the question for this answer was, you are considering becoming more eco-friendly. Which text is most likely to persuade you? Okay, so you are comparing them, but you're going to say why one of them is more likely to persuade you. So what is it in that text that is most likely to persuade you? Text A is most likely to persuade me to be more eco-friendly because it backs up every suggestion with a fact. CFL bulbs consume 40% less energy and last 10 times longer than traditional bulbs. Text B is mostly about a council's recycling provision. There are 50 bottle banks and doesn't provide any practical suggestions. Text C offers the most extreme views and some of its suggestions aren't practical. Not everyone has access to a vegetable oil converter in order to run a car on chip fat oil. The practical ideas in text A, such as refusing plastic straws and walking instead of driving, make the reader feel that being eco-friendly is achievable. Okay, so anything you notice about this answer?
Yeah, I think A makes more sense.
So,
I can go on A. A is more convincing.
So they are saying that text A is more convincing. Good. So straight away, they have said which text is likely to persuade them. So they've told the examiner that they understand the question straight away, and then used the rest of the answer to explain why, to make those comparisons. Okay. So again, we've got short quotes and paraphrasing, referring to the documents, and the documents are named. So as we've looked at, to make sure the examiner knows which one you're referring to. And we've got statistics and facts included here as well. So as I've just mentioned, referring to the text by name. And we've got paraphrasing as well. So when you're answering, using a mixture of quotes, short quotes, and paraphrasing to explain what each text says. So don't just use one or the other, use both. So sometimes put a short quote in, part of a sentence, or at the most a whole sentence, but then also put some of it into your own words. So at the bottom we can see as such as refusing, the practical ideas in text A, such as refusing plastic straws and walking. So that's been paraphrased. So a mixture of both. Okay. So comparing opinions and ideas. So should Britain change its electoral system? And you are going to use the documents to answer that question. So you're going to refer to the documents and their ideas, making sure you name them, where you're getting the information from. So it's about, So that question is about persuasion. So which text? So it's very similar, really, in what it's asking you to do here. which text is most likely to persuade you. You are going to use the text to answer that question. How have you reached your answer? Because one of the text was more persuasive to you. Okay. So I'll read it out. Sorry, the colour's a bit strange on this one, but I'll read it out. Text B is the more persuasive text for me, as it argues its opinions well and with certainty. Proportional representation will stop votes from being wasted, but give us a much clearer idea of how the country as a whole votes. Text A seems to be only concerned with maintaining the wonder of our 100-year-old democracy. Text C is more experimental, but also cautious in tone, suggesting we could look at trialling new electoral systems during local elections. Text B declares that only through electoral reform will we see Britain continue to be the flagship democracy deep into the 21st century, and this is more inspiring to the reader. Okay. So again, we've started by showing the examiner the question has been understood. And again, we've got short quotes, paraphrasing in the answer, a mixture of both. This text language, maintaining the wonder. So that's another feature that you could mention. And at the end of this answer, they have referred back to text B. So they have shown cohesion in their answer by underlining what they said initially, that text B was the most persuasive text. And the writer of this quote has used formal language. So only through electoral reform will we see Britain continue to be the flagship democracy deep into the 21st century. It is more inspiring to the reader. Okay. So this time we're going to look at an answer, and we have the mark scheme there, and we're going to decide how many marks this answer should get. So the mark scheme is what the examiner will have to assess your answer and what marks you receive. So the question for this answer was, you are considering becoming more eco-friendly. Which text is most likely to persuade you? And the answer written, I would say that document 1 is the most persuasive. I like the way the ideas relate to my own life. The other documents aren't directly relevant to me. After reading document 1, I think I would definitely feel confident in being eco-friendly. Okay, so I would always start with the lowest mark and decide, does the answer fulfill what's required for that mark? And if it does, I would then move on to the next mark and ask that question again, and so on, and that will help me reach my decision as to how many marks the answer should get. So we'll do that together, so you'll see what I mean. So let's look at 1 mark. Does this answer select a text and provide a brief explanation based on the text selected? Okay, so has this answer selected a text? Does it mention a text or a document?
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? Well done.
Mhm.
Is there a brief explanation based on that document or text?
Yeah.
There is, yeah. So it definitely can have 1 mark. Let's
Yeah.
do 2 marks. Selects a text and provides a detailed explanation. Is that a
No.
detailed? No, it isn't. Well done. Straight away, you could recognise that. So it's just a brief explanation. So we can't move on to 2 marks. So this answer would only get 1 mark. So if we look at what was wanted for 3 marks, so it would select a text with brief explanation, but also consider at least 2 texts. And to get 4 marks, again, select the text and have a detailed explanation, but there'd be a consideration of all 3 texts. So it doesn't do 2, 3 or 4, so it's just 1 mark for this answer. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. So the question here was, you are considering becoming more eco-friendly. Which text is most likely to persuade you? So our answer, because document 3 clearly outlines the consequences of not caring for our planet, I found this the most persuasive. It was news that going green would save me money too, and I don't want to leave a terrible legacy. So while the tips like recycle and reuse in document 1 are something I could do today, they feel like instructions rather than persuasion. Document 3 also uses direct address and a rhetorical question. Who doesn't want to save the planet? I agreed. So again, we'll start with the 1 mark criteria. Selects a text and provides a brief explanation based on the text selected. So have they selected a text? Have they selected a text that's most likely to persuade them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which document did they select?
Document 3.
Good. So document 3 clearly outlines the consequences. I found this most persuasive. Well done. Okay, so let's move on to 2 marks. Selects a text and provides detailed explanation based on the text selected. So
Yeah.
have more detail in this question. In this answer, sorry. Have we got some quotes, some paraphrasing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got just underline it. So I don't want to leave a terrible legacy.
Yes.
Okay, quotes and news that going green would save me money too, and so on. So yeah, so we've got 2 marks there. Selects a text, so let's look at 3 mark criteria. Selects a text and provides a brief explanation which contains good consideration of at least 2 texts. So we know that it's got, they've selected a text and provided a brief explanation, or it's a bit more detailed, we decided. Is it considering at least 2 texts?
Yeah, it is.
So good, it refers to document 3 and document 1. So yes, we've got 3 marks now. For 4 marks, selects a text, provides a detailed explanation. We've already decided it does do that, which contains good consideration of all 3. Does it consider all 3 texts?
Who doesn't want to save the planet? Document 3.
So it refers to document 3. It refers to document 1, but we don't have document 2 mentioned. So we're going to go for 3 marks here. Okay, because it doesn't consider all three texts. Okay, so to get the full marks, you need to look at all the texts and mention them all in your answer. Using, so let's again look at how many marks. Sorry, I'm just going to mute everyone to avoid the background noise while we look at it together. Okay. So the question for this answer was, compare the views expressed in text 1 with those in text 4 and how these views are conveyed. So how have they put that message across? So this is where we're thinking about formal, informal language and so on. In text 1, the author claims that young people are doing less and less exercise due to the increase in indoor activities, mainly computer games. He doesn't quote any facts or sources, and his opinion seems to be based on his personal experience with his son. In text 4, the author has a very different view, stating that children will always play video games, but the increased perception that the media gives that it is unsafe for kids to play outside is the key factor. She backs that up with the statistic that 64% of parents interviewed by the Daily Chronicle said that they wouldn't let their children play outside unsupervised. She uses many other facts and figures to back up her reasoning. Excuse me. Okay, so again, we need to look at the mark scheme, which is presented slightly differently, but we're going to do the same activity. So for 1 mark, the learner's response will have some mention of at least one of text 1's views and one of the views expressed in text 4. So have we got the views of text 1 and text 4 mentioned? So I've muted everyone. You'll have to unmute to answer. So does this answer mention both text 1 and text 4?
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? We can see text 1 and text 4 both mentioned. But limited implicit comparison and no consideration of how views are conveyed. The answer here, it does mention his opinion seems to be based on his personal experience. So although we can say yes to 2 texts mentioned, but we know it's got more than that. So we're going to move on to to 2 marks, because they have used comparison and consideration. So we think, well, it's more than 1 mark then. So have they compared at least one of text 1's views and one of the views in text 4 with some comparison and consideration of how views are conveyed in at least one text? So we're just on the last minute, so I'm just going to look at it rather than asking for your input for this one. So he's talked about the personal experience that is used by the author of text 1. And he has compared and contrasted text 1 and text 4. So we can give it 2 marks. Let's see if this answer has potential for 3 marks. So does the response have a clear and explicit comparison of text 1's views and the views in text 4 with examples from both sources? So it does indeed use examples, quotes from both sources, quotes and paraphrasing from both sources, both text 1 and text 4. So text 1, we've got a quote here, and text 4, we have a quote, and also it mentions the statistic that was used. So we've got examples from both sources. There is clear comparison of how views are conveyed. So there is, it talks about the personal experience and the different view of text 4 using facts and figures. So this answer would be awarded 3 marks because it does all of the things in this 3-mark criteria. So if you go onto Moodle, or if you go on the NCFE website, you can look at past papers. You can look at examples of previous reading assessment papers, and you can look at the mark schemes as well. So it's a good idea to have a go at the question and then use the mark scheme to assess your answer and think about what marks you might get. So it's a good way to learn what you need to include to get those full marks. Okay, we'll just quickly do our quiz so you can unmute yourselves. What is a summary? So the gist of a text, careful reading, reading the first sentences of a paragraph, or a short version recounting the major ideas. So which one is it? A, B, C, or D?
D.
Good. Short version. Well done. What should you consider in questions that ask you to make comparisons? So remember, we've got those words: contrast asks you to do one thing, and comparison asks you
Similar is B.
similar. Good. Well done. Okay, so well done, everybody. Does anyone have any questions?
Not now.
No? Okay. So you can, remember, you can watch the recording again if you need to, or rather go back and watch a recording on Moodle.
All right.
Okay. All right. So hopefully I will see you tomorrow for our lesson. Thank you very much, everyone.
How can I get to the Moodle, please?
So you should have been given a login by the office at UK Versity.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Yeah? So you
I said, how can I get to the Moodle?
Yes. So that's what I was just explaining. You need to contact the office at UK Versity.
Okay.
And they will give you a login for Moodle. Then you can log in and see the course resources there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye now. Have a good day, everyone.
I too. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.